Hey guys, it's me Shannon, and I am just here to talk to you about something that I went through, an experience that I had. And right now, after watching a little documentary called How to Become a Cult Leader by Netflix, or on Netflix, I am now questioning whether or not I was in a cult. So, I, for the longest time, thought to myself that the Christian non denominational church that I went to for 12 years was maybe a little legalistic, maybe just a little bit, what's the word? Like controlling, dominating, and some people let their power of leadership go to their head and tried to control people's lives. But I really didn't think I was in a cult, and I really couldn't call it that. Sometimes I got to the point where I thought this is sort of cult-like, but I never really thought I was in a cult. But now I'm starting to think that I was after watching this documentary. So I'm not going to share specific details yet. However, I am going to do a whole series on what I went through in the church that I was a part of, just to give you guys just a little, get to know me a little bit more. Sometimes I feel like us as people, we go through so many different things in our lives, different stages in our lives, and we basically live like different lives sometimes. And I feel like my 12 years of being a part of that church slash now what I'm thinking is it's potentially a cult. I now, as I'm looking back on all of the things and looking back at all of the signs, I'm look. If you see me looking to the right here, I have my laptop and I'm literally going through the notes that I have. Sorry, I had to pause the video because I had to sneeze really bad, and my bird won't stop screaming. So if anybody is here that you are going through something similar where you're actually questioning yourself, you know, is the church that I'm involved in too controlling? Am I starting to feel weird? Are there some red flags? And those questions that you think in your mind, don't second guess yourself. Like literally that's the first red flag, is that you're starting to feel like something's not right. And I had red flags in the beginning, but I ignored them. Actually, I didn't ignore them. I did address them. However, once I started to address them, certain things that I didn't feel were right, I was sort of manipulated in a sense. I was gaslighted and basically told to pray about it and just to seek God, and then I was also just given a bunch of mumbo jumbo that all the leaders and everybody that was around me was telling me, just because that was like my only source of going to someone for advice was within that same church. So because of this church, I had let go of all my former friendships, which is another red flag right there. I had let go and released all of my former friends because I just felt like they weren't really living the life that I was living, and they were on a different path. And I was also given scriptures by leadership and through the pulpit saying that we should come out and be separate from the world. And, to an extent, that's true, because I do believe, similar to that little quote that everyone says, that, you are the kind of like the equivalent of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. And sometimes you do have to let people go. Like in my case, some of my friends were partying really hard, and I didn't really feel like I had anything in common with them anymore. So it was kind of a natural process. But there were certain friends and even family members that I began to distance myself from, that really were actually starting to question me and question what I was involved in, and they'd be like, what's really going on? Like my own family members, my grandparents were like, what is going on? Why is your entire life about this church now? Why is everything that you do with this church and with the people within this church, and you no longer associate with anyone else? And I would get defensive, of course, because I thought they just don't understand. And that's what everyone around me at church would say, is that they just don't understand. Little did I know that every cult's first tactic is to basically, shower you with love, show you that the people that you're surrounded by are probably not people that you should hang out with anymore, because now you should start hanging out with us more often. And and also they would have scriptures like handy to share with you. For instance, like if you wanted to go to a family gathering, and let's just say that there was a church event that was happening at the same time as your family gathering, they would throw scriptures at you that would try to back up their way of controlling you into doing what they wanted you to do. And they come with loaded scripture to back up what they are asking you to, or telling you to do. I mean, let's just say, for instance, if I had a family gathering that I wanted to go to, and there was also a church event on the same day, and my leadership was asking me like, hey, well, I'll see you at this event. And if I said something like, oh no, I'm not going to be coming because I'm going to be going to my aunt's birthday or whatever, let's just say that's what it was, right? They would say something like, oh, well, that that do you know where your priorities are, type of thing. Like, it's your responsibility to be here because you're in leadership, and you need to set that good example for those other disciples that are new. And so, you as a leader, you need to be there. And I'm like, but like my aunt's birthday is like once a year, but it didn't matter to them. To them, it's like, are you faithful? Are you committed? Are you truly a part of this church? Do you really love God as much as you say you do? If you don't show your faithfulness by serving within the church. I mean, they had so many. This is just an example of something that they might say. And believe me, I have many times where things like that were said to me. They'll even use scripture to twist that scripture around for their benefit of driving that point home and across to you. Something like giving you the scripture where it says something to the effect of, you must leave your father and mother to follow me, or something like that. I'm just paraphrasing, but there's a scripture similar to that. And they'll use that, or they have used that actually, on the pulpit to test people's loyalty to the church and to, just to God in general. They would say it's what's your loyalty to God? Because whatever you do within the church, like as a servant of the Lord, shows your loyalty towards God, basically. So if you don't attend this said event for the church, then they're questioning your loyalty to God. And in extreme cases, they'll even give you an ultimatum, saying basically something to the effect of, if you don't come to this event, then you're not going to be in leadership anymore. They'll start to tell you that you're disobedient, that you're rebellious, that you're not paying attention to your leadership, and that you're outside of God's will, and that you're going to be punished for it, basically. There is so much to unpack. I have 12 years of this type of baggage. Are you ready for it? I'm almost out of time. I've got just a couple minutes left. So I just want to share that I hope that if you're questioning whether or not you're in a cult, that you will research more and find your truth. Don't ever let some church or leader or pastor become the God in your life. They are not God. even though they're pretending to be.